permanent stain that is left on the American people by Malik James. Police brutality has brought many changes to how law enforcement is handled in the United States, from how it's handled by the people and the law itself. One of the biggest modern examples of this is the George Floyd incident. That's more of a people-wide example, as the death of George Floyd had started a movement among the people, with his last words, "I can't breathe," becoming the slogan of BLM throughout the 2020s. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, where something affected how law is handled, Miranda v. Arizona had changed how police are allowed to handle situations. Whenever they are interrogating their detainee, they can't threaten to forge anything, or make their interrogatee speak, basically. And today I'm going to talk about not only George Floyd and Miranda v. Arizona, but Freddie Gray and Eric Garner, which are only a small portion of the numerous cases of police brutality, and the latter two having not been talked about since late 2010s. And the concept of brutality in law enforcement reaches back all the way to ye olden times. Cruel kings and queens killing their subjects for the most minor of things could be a little comparable to cops shooting and killing those who are already detained, weren't resisting, or weren't involved at all, or had done minor crimes. And I hope to show the permanent stain that police brutality has left on the American people today. Now, George Floyd. George Floyd is one of the most well-known cases on this list today, and something he called out during his attack from the police was "I can't breathe," which would go on to be a slogan used against police brutality and during BLM protests. George Floyd was initially detained for giving a store clerk a counterfeit $20 bill, which does not sound like much, and it really wasn't, but when he was detained by police as he was being cuffed, the police officer had put a knee on his neck, suffocating him, which, of course, caused him to yell, "I can't breathe." And his death isn't what started BLM, but during the 2020s, it skyrocketed it into national public eye and started much more feud between civilians and law enforcement. And Miranda v. Arizona had changed how police are allowed to handle these situations with the Miranda rights. Now, Miranda v. Arizona was not a case of physical violence, but instead verbal violence, with threatening Ernesto Miranda, who is what the Miranda rights are named after. When someone is read their Miranda rights, they have the right to remain silent, which is something that was used against Miranda during his trial, which led to his arrest. Now, on to Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray is a special case of PB. Well, not really special, but it is a case of PB where the police involved were not charged for their crimes, which is very common. In 4 total trials, the jury could not come to a conclusion, and the case was dropped because there was not sufficient evidence, despite many recordings from people and body cam footage. And during his arrest, eyewitnesses said he was stationary, and it was also stated he was yelling for medical help during the entire transportation process. It was also reported that he was being bashed around in the back of the police van he was in as his arms and legs were shackled. And during his arrest, police were also threatening bystanders who were documenting this whole ordeal, which shows that sometimes police officers think they have a lot more power in a situation than they normally do, which is also the case for Eric Garner. Eric Garner was a 43-year-old man who was seen as a peacemaker in his community, but the police did not seem to think this way. Eric was found to be selling untaxed cigarettes on the subway, and when confronted by police, he was put into a deadly chokehold that was also considered illegal to perform. And his last words were, "I can't breathe, which shows history ended up repeating itself, as George Floyd had gone through the same exact thing during his arrest and death. Now, this has brought such a dissonance between the American people and law enforcement, to where now people are scared to do literally anything. because if an officer catches them, there is a high chance that anyone, it doesn't matter what race you are, who you like, how old you are, if police deem you as a threat, you could end up dying that day. People are scared of that reality. And it has caused a stain to be left on the American people, on us. And all the cases, there's even more cases where this is true, where somebody has done basically nothing and died for a crime. This has brought unity between people though, but it has brought unity for all the wrong reasons. I hope that one day we can flip this around and stop all the brutalities, but I don't know if that will truly happen.